Welcome to Four Nerds Save the Universe, episode 15.
I don't believe you.
The Sleepy Cast, because I have a humongous headache.
That's not sleepy. That's not what that word means.
It means. It can mean.
This must be a really big headache.
It's a pretty big headache.
Whenever I have one of my crazy headaches, all I want to do is just go sleep, and it's not the pain. I'm wiped. It just takes me out. I don't know.
You're not saying that all you want to do is dance, dance, dance?
No, God, that hurts so much.
Currently, I'm messing with the light.
Specific response.
I've decided to turn off all the lights in my room. It looks like I'm podcasting while I'm also in the middle of performing a dark ritual.
Okay.
All right, let's do what I always do and shine a bright ass light in my face. Oh, the sacrifices I make.
A legacy of ice rain, so you can talk for 2 hours and do occasional visual gags.
Yeah. Oh, I
always find out about the birdster
I
eggs.
never stop doing visual gags.
Constant visual gags.
I definitely find out about the birdster eggs because people time code every single one of them with usually the comment, "What the fuck, bird?" But now people are going to be saying that at completely innocuous moments just to screw with me. Because now that I've acknowledged it, they're like, "What the fuck, bird?" in a moment where bird's just staring into space. That'll be our new fart sprinkles.
Bird's just... then you realize Bird's doing Morse code with his eyes, and you're like, oh god, this is even worse.
I'm just selling...
Oh my god.
I'm blinking out the word torture. That's a historical reference.
You're actually leaking the next Peter Molyneux game.
Oh god.
Through weird Morse code references.
I'm leaking out the source code to Frog Fractions 3.
Oh my god.
Yeah, there you go.
That actually leads into a question I don't think I ever asked on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of questions.
What was the question? Has anyone played Frog
Unanswered.
Fractions?
So at one point there was a question asking if there was a game that you a game that you kind of missed the zeitgeist for, but because of the general people talking about it and the first wave of discussion passing and everything, it kind of spoiled the experience for you, or you missed the right time to play the game.
Yeah. There's the
answer for instances of that.
Mass Effect, actually.
The first one?
I could see that.
No, the third, actually. It took me, I want to say, 5 or 6 years to play the third one. I played it...
Wow. That's now,
after
basically.
I started my YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's so you played it for the first time last month, then?
No. A year ago. 2 years ago?
It
was 2 or 3 years ago, but
It was about a year ago.
It was a
for you,
2012
right?
game.
Okay.
Yeah.
It came out when I was in college, I guess. I don't know. It took me a long time to play Mass Effect. And
I still haven't, and I have
Mass Effect 3.
First and second game.
Well, yeah, but Shell was super sick, and we needed something to play.
So you played Mass Effect for the first time, having heard for years about it, having a terrible ending and things like that.
Right.
Basically.
Exactly. So Shell completely checked out of me playing it, and she was sick to begin with. But she was also just I don't give a shit about this game, and I was just like, but you've wanted to play this for years. But so when I finally hit the ending, and admittedly this was the bolstered up ending or whatever.
Admittedly, I was only interested in the character cutscenes and the conversations, not at all the running gun.
You wanted to...
So I played it without the extended ending, and then I played it with the extended ending, and I had to I had to look up online what changed because I didn't notice.
What the differences were.
I genuinely didn't
funny.
notice what those several gigabytes of download did to the ending. I'm like, I don't know if it fixed anything.
That's pretty funny.
I'll avoid talking about Mass Effect spoilers right now because I'm midway through 3 on my channel. But
okay.
Yeah. That's a discussion to bring up around the time Andromeda comes out, probably.
We'll do Mass Effect spoiler cast in 1 week, probably.
All right, sounds good.
That is a trilogy that can be talked about. In fact, one of my roommates is somebody that I will on a regular basis. Once every few months or so, we'll suddenly just sit down and find ourselves 2 hours into a Mass Effect discussion because of how much there is to discuss in those games.
Right.
But
terrifying.
I feel like I need to kind of finish my point. Finishing Mass Effect 3 after hearing for years
that it sucked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I knew people on the dev team that were they were interns there when they were making that game, and just seeing my frat group more or less turn on these guys for how bad it was, and just this constant kind of reminder for quite a couple of months that this was a thing effectively, and finally getting to that point myself, and then just kind of being dead inside before it happens because I know it's coming. And like I already kind of checked out, like once you hit that final mission, because there's so much grind in Mass Effect 3 as well, like you gotta get your galactic readiness up so that you can actually do the ending, so so on and so forth. And
our poor femshep.
there was nothing necessarily wrong with that, but like
there's one thing very wrong with it, which is the galactic readiness percentage.
Yeah.
The part where
that
like
was
you have to buff up that percentage by playing a multiplayer or a stupid Facebook game.
Are you kidding?
That part's very wrong.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Okay, so you can actually get the requisite galactic readiness single player without any of that bullshit.
Yeah,
but you have
can't
to
increase the
pretty much
percentage.
Well, yeah, you can just get up to the like bare minimum to get the good endings or whatever.
Yeah. It's a thing where you have to brute force your way to a certain total that's so high that it's double what you normally would require because you're still sitting at 50% on the multiplier.
Yeah.
It's mean.
I have a friend.
So, like, we managed to do that, but by the time I hit that point, because I couldn't do multiplayer, I was just like, I'm so done with this game already, and now I'm getting the shitty ending because that's the only ending there is. It's just like
the secret is that all the endings are bad.
Yeah,
you
pretty
pump
much.
Up your galactic
Like,
readiness to get a slightly less bad ending.
Especially because for me, I really liked the one ending that is absolutely not canon, no matter what, because like.
Well, yeah.
It was
what
too
are they
weird
gonna
and
do
sci-fi-y.
about the one, like, is that the canon ending or is it not? Because
We don't know what the
Here's
canon
the thing
ending is going to
about
be.
it is that they're just sidestepping it because Andromeda is a spin-off. So like instead of continuing forward in the timeline, we're going to have a group of people that left to a different galaxy entirely before the events of Mass Effect 3.
Wait,
To be fair,
left
probably
before?
their best strategy they could go with.
That's what I've
honestly.
heard at least, is that Mass Effect
that way they
Andromeda is a
wouldn't
group
be
of people that left
influenced.
before 3 ever happened.
Oh, see,
So
I
the
thought it
events
was
of
like
3,
the
Good call.
It's like the events of 3 may have happened by now, but no one would have. It's likely that no one knows about it because they're completely in a different galaxy now, which no one's
I was
ever
under
been
the
in Mass
impression
Effect.
that this was like way later and the relays were failing or something like that.
No. I told you that.
Okay.
They had left before.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, I think that's
Or
a really
it
good
was a really
strategy.
old expedition.
No, it makes
screw
sense.
it. We're not going to touch that pile. Just like walk away
I'm
from
curious
it.
about it because I still haven't looked into it at all, really. So I'm wondering,
Me
like,
neither.
if it's a different galaxy entirely, does that mean that there's no Reapers ever? Were the Reapers never in the other? Were they just Milky Way? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
that's an interesting question.
Like, were the Mass Effect relays only the Milky Way, and were the Reapers only the Milky Way? And could there be other galaxies throughout all of the multiverse or whatever? The universe that have completely different states of being with none of those problems, or completely different problems? Are we just going to
Bad
get
spoiler
alternate
time
Reapers?
for Keith. The boss is still the Reapers.
Yeah,
It's just like a plot over
What if
again.
we just
but
get
they're-
Reapers with mustaches? It's the
how many fingers do the Reapers have? 5? Like 3 or 4?
they look like Master Hand.
Yeah, but like how many little fingers do they
It was
have?
like
I think they have
4?
like 6 to 8.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like 3 fingers and a thumb-looking thing on the other side. Watch them have like 2 fingers this time.
And they're
slightly
blue
different
now.
recolors.
Well, no, weren't they like kind of a gray blue? So these are red. It's just like
They're Turian Reapers.
I had a friend who is probably the most milquetoast, uninteresting, boring person I've ever met in my life. And I remember what you were saying about Mass Effect 3, with the fact that you have to do multiplayer or Facebook to do it, like get the good ending. He's also a big fan of Mass Effect. So he just posts this Facebook status on the day Mass Effect 3 launches, where he's just like, I guess I'm literally never beating this game because it requires multiplayer and I don't have friends. And like, this is like all of his statuses. The dude legit, at least he knows himself pretty well in this instance. But like, I was just like, ouch, man. That's
Surprisingly,
like
the multiplayer is
saddest
actually
thing to
fun.
say.
yeah. I was
It
actually going to
just shouldn't
offer
affect the single player.
I was actually going to offer, if you want to do the multiplayer so that you don't have to grind the mobile game, I'd actually be interested, because I've been wanting to play it for ages, but I knew nobody would ever want to play it with me, so I always was just like, eh.
I just did matchmaking. Okay.
It's
not particularly interesting, but it's just it's just kind of fun, because it has the Mass Effect 3 combat, which is relatively like high level combat for that trilogy. Like, it actually more or less worked well and was kind of fun to do,
unlike
and had a decent variety of
games.
enemies and attacks and everything. So doing that in a like Gears of War style horde mode is kind of fun, because the only multiplayer is a co-op horde mode type thing, where you just fight waves of enemies of increasing difficulty and last as long as you can, and then get rewards all the way down to being able to prestige. So playing the mode in itself increases your galactic readiness percentage, which is your multiplier and your war assets, but then also if you max out a character and prestige them and reset them, you also add a permanent war asset to all of your playthroughs, which is that character. It's like you're like adding a Spectre basically to your forces.
So this is a nice pre-Mass Effect spoiler cast, I guess.
Yeah, for me, the thing being spoiled is it has to be Frog Fractions too.
Oh yeah, the second one. Or
you
what?
hear about Frog Fractions, and everyone's like, "What's this weird thing?" And like, even if you're getting some buzz about what might be weird about the thing, or what makes it interesting, like generally you don't know what you're getting when you go into Frog Fractions, even if you've kind of heard a little buzz about it.
Yeah.
But once you've heard about Frog Fractions and played Frog Fractions, and you know what it is and what you're getting into, then when Frog Fractions 2 comes out, the only way to be surprised is to find it before you find out it's Frog Fractions 2. Because they put out Glittermitten Grove, and it was out for a little while. And if you were lucky enough to... Yeah, if you were lucky enough to encounter Frog Fractions 2 before you knew it was Frog Fractions 2, you got the magic all over again.
Yeah.
But if you didn't do that, then you're just stuck with this experience of, like, it's still cool, because Frog Fractions is cool, but you can't have the experience of being surprised by it, because you already knew exactly what was going to happen.
That's kind of true of a lot of ARGs, but
yeah,
the Frog Fractions 2 ARG was particularly awesome.
Hey, did we talk about that yet on this podcast? The fact that the ARG that we talked about a long time ago, like in one of the first,
I
like the second episode,
that to somebody else.
Yeah, we never actually followed up on it.
Yeah, well, I don't know who I was talking to. I think I was talking to Stainless, who had played Frog Fractions, and he just did not give a damn, and it was just such a weird like experience, because you two are always just like Frog Fractions, Frog Fractions, Frog Fractions, Frog Fractions, and trying to talk to somebody else about it. And you know, admittedly, I've never played it myself, so that kind of screws that up too.
Yeah,
but it's just trying to talk to somebody else that's played Frog Fractions.
Can someone clarify for me? Is it fraction? Wait, is it Frog Fractions?
Frog Fractions.
Fractions.
Like the mathematical.
Okay, yes.
Like a learning game.
Precisely. Yeah, because I don't know if it was when you were doing your like speed Frog Fractions. I was like, wait, Frog Factions? And I'm just imagining, frogs donning armor and, going headlong into
Frog
battle.
Civil War.
Like that series of cat novels.
Redwall?
Yeah. My brother had all of those.
The Warriors.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come out to play.
Redwall, I don't know if Redwall had frogs.
No, I didn't have frogs.
No, they did have a frog. They also did have a cat.
Well, yeah, I don't remember the cat.
They're super rare. For the most part, it was the same races over and over and over again. Then every once in a while, they'd add like one bonus race that everybody's like, what?
Well, I just remember that snakes,
Yeah, there was the snake.
But they're not so much sentient. They're more like monsters. The cat could talk, but it was also huge.
Yeah, so, it was like full-size cat, which is...
Yeah, so Stainless convinced Housey to play Frog Fractions, like 2 or 3 days ago. And I watched her play it, and I was like, I didn't realize it was possible to not have fun while playing this, but I'm watching somebody just be miserable. Oh my god. So she gets to the part of the game, I assume everyone's played it or doesn't mind if I talk about it.
Still haven't.
Do not talk about Frog Fractions.
Yeah, do not talk about it.
She managed to she managed to play it.
I'm still trying to get
serious
Wander
way
to play it because he still won't.
Yeah. She managed to play it like in such like a serious manner that like it totally was like wow. You
So far,
realize
the farthest I've gotten is I've gotten Wander to launch it on a stream and then immediately close it and leave. That has happened so far. Yes, you've launched Frog Fractions on the stream and then immediately you're like,
you said I'll check this out later,
left.
and then that was like 7 months ago.
I think it was longer than that. It was probably like
quite some time ago.
Yeah, it was a while.
But yeah, there's inherently a ride that is Frog Fractions, and not knowing what you're getting into is as part of that ride, and you inherently know what Frog Fractions is kind of going to do by the time if you know that it is Frog Fractions 2.
Right.
So just the inherent part of hearing about it via gaming websites spoils the idea of it, but also how was I ever going to find out about the game without knowing it was Frog Fractions 2? So it's like a super. I don't know how that could have been handled.
It was a little bit of magic experienced by only like 4 people.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the ARG thing? Was that 4 Frog Fractions?
Yes. That was a series of weird glyphs that went to a weird decoder thing that all came together to point out that Frog Fractions was in Glittermitten Grove.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and they tapped like 14 games to do it.
Though they didn't release Glittermitten Grove until later, though. Like, did they release Glittermitten Grove?
It was before.
The moment people solved the ARG?
No. Glittermitten Grove had been out for like a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
what happened
it was in there the whole
Grove
time.
was out, but I think that the actual access to Frog Fractions wasn't there until someone solved the ARG.
Right, somebody solved it, and then they got it immediately, and then everybody else basically got it, like a full release of it or something like that. Yeah, it is cool.
I was just thinking...
They even had patch notes to the game that had included the words fraction in there hidden away without acknowledging actual Frog Fractions in the patch notes.
I was just gonna say it'd be pretty damn classy in a way to like have a full game made waiting for somebody to find this secret. Because they'd already kickstarted it.
Oh, no, that is what it was. I think the source code was in it.
Well, yeah, it's just my point is like if they had made Glittermitten Grove and waited until people found and solved the ARG to even release that game.
Oh, that would have been kind of
neat. Because like. I'm just imagining being this developer. You know, people have already paid for this game.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there waiting for possibly years for somebody to solve this puzzle with this game ready and raring to go. Just for these people to like lose their shit. Like, that would be really
funny. It's such a weird experience where you have to give away the spoiler at some point where the game exists and where it is, because you just have to sort of like...
Because people have to play it eventually.
Like at some point you just have to like fulfill the promise of the game existing to the people that paid for it. It's such a weird concept.
What game are we talking about? Frog Fractions. I will play it at some point.
One.
At some point.
You say
it's
that.
It's free! If you're listening to this conversation and you like weird things, just go play it. You just type Frog Fractions into your browser and you'll get to like the Twin Beards website, and then you're playing it because it's a Flash game that's free, and then its sequel exists. So if you like the game a whole lot, you can pay for the sequel.
If you want more of the game, I have very good news for you. If you want less of the game, I have terrible news for you.
Glittermitten Grove was actually like good beyond Frog Fractions, right?
It was kind of an average indie title.
Okay.
This is very CCT, Grove, right?
We were very entertained by Glittermitten Grove, but it was kind of clear that once you get to the part where you're accessing Frog Fractions 2 inside of it, there's not a whole lot of the game left to play anymore.
Yeah.
So it's enough to be an effective facade of a neat game, but if you wanted to just ignore Frog Fractions and keep playing it, you probably wouldn't have much to do.
Right. Yeah.
We played for about 2 hours just in Glittermitten Grove. We just kept going. What's interesting is that's kind of a Bay Area video game story that's kind of neat because it's all local stuff. Like, it's a game developed by a local developer, and its primary hype, as far as I can tell, came from Giant Bomb discovering it, which is a San Francisco game website. And just to top things off and make it weird, right after we played Frog Fractions on Sad Games like 4 years ago, Joe and Andrew went to a Siftio GameCube game jam where they were going to try to make games for this little weird peripheral.
Andrew has game dev skills?
Yeah.
What does he do?
They have some, at least. They've technically made a game. They made Yu-Gi-Oh! Rock, Paper, Scissors on the little Siftio cubes where you would like match the cubes together and they would
yeah,
do a rock,
Oh,
paper, scissors
those
with them.
things.
And no, what was weird though is that when they went to the game jam, they carpooled with Twinbeard.
Oh, that's funny.
They carpooled with the guy that made Frog Fractions shortly after they had just played Frog Fractions. I'm like, that's the world's weird and tiny, and I don't understand it.
Yep.
But that was the
Well,
thing.
Silicon Valley's tiny, for sure.
Yeah. But just San Francisco game dev is just such a small scene.
I have to say though, I'm
Wait,
really.
what do you mean?
I mean, it's a huge but also small scene. It depends. But I just want to say, I'm really impressed that they managed to get all these other indie games to fit the ARG in.
Yeah.
Because you don't really hear about that often. There's every once in a while, there's a game that has a reference character and there's nods here and there. But very rarely do you see indie devs working together in that kind of insane manner. And I have to say that's really cool to me.
Yeah, well, I bet that it seems like Twinbeard probably just knew everything that he wanted to do to make it all happen, and he just said here, you do these 3 things, and just handed them the files. That's probably a lot easier than trying to collaborate with other people.
But still, trying to get that to show up into... I was actually I was watching a Let's Player for a stream event a year ago. Or something like that when we were first talking about the ARG. And part of the reason why I understood what you guys were talking about is because this streamer had ran into one of the pieces of the ARG in the puzzle game they were playing. I don't know which one it was, because I'd never seen it before. Well, no, they thought it was part of the game. They spent an hour trying to figure it out, and I was sitting there just laughing my head off.
Oh, really? That's funny.
You guys had just mentioned it, and they were stuck in the game, so they find the ARG, and they're like, I can't... Where are we supposed to go? What are we supposed to do with this? And they were having
what if they
a
ended
fit.
up from that going all the way and finding Frog Fractions too? That would have been incredible.
They just stop the game and they're just like, okay, I guess we got to go on to this next one, and they just follow the path and they never go back to the original game. I'd be okay with that.
That would be incredible.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. So yeah.
So, Bird, did you have an example for the question? I don't remember.
Oh, what was the question? Game Zeitgeist or something like that you totally just missed?
It's the idea of missing the initial wave somehow kind of spoiling the experience of finally playing it in a way.
Oh,
that also basically happened to me for System Shock 2 because it's just BioShock.
Yeah. That's definitely one that can easily get spoiled. I probably have some ones if I were to think pretty
somebody's
hard about
remaking
it.
the first one, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. They are rebooting it, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think System Shock 1 and 2 Enhanced Edition are both already on Steam.
No. A straight remake.
They're doing something
That's confusing because they already re-released it just recently.
System Shock by Night Dive Studios just got kickstarted.
Yeah, so they're what they're
they
doing
met
is
their
they're
goal. Yeah, and this Kickstarter ended, it looks like, I can't tell, but a while ago.
Yeah, I think they're just remaking the first one entirely.
Yep.
And if that does well, they'll probably remake the second.
It looks like
System
that got
Shock
met
2
about
is
5
very
months ago.
System Shock 2 is super neat in a lot of ways. In particular, it's really interesting that you can pick up other people's weapons and pull the ammo out of them.
Yeah.
Physically remove the ammo from their guns that are discarded and put that in your gun. It's oh, cool. You can unload guns. That would have been useful in a few parts of Resident Evil 7. But when they made BioShock, they made the same story.
Yeah.
All the way down to the twist.
Pretty true, isn't it?
So going back to System Shock and playing it for the first time, I'm like, this is BioShock. And then the twist happens, I'm like, yep, this is BioShock.
That's kind of a shame. But
it is.
Do you have anything come to mind, Bird?
No, I'm trying to think. Excuse me. I guess, yeah?
I was just thinking things over, but if you have something formulated, you can say it.
I feel like I should. I can't think of any.
Yeah, now, if you want more time, I can say mine, I think.
Yeah, go for it.
But it's things that we've already gone over in a way. So, growing up, it was interesting. A lot of my male friends had Xboxes, so they had, all the Halo series and such. My female friends had PlayStations, So they all had Final Fantasies and whatnot. And then my family and a couple other families usually had a Nintendo on the side. So for me, it was odd. If I wanted to experience the other platform games, I had to go to my friends' houses and usually play multiplayer or watch over their shoulder. And so I really only experienced Nintendo games. So thinking about it, I did go through all of Halo with Wander finally, so that was fine, and nothing was really spoiled for me because I just played multiplayer with it before. But I think I've definitely spoiled a lot of Final Fantasy games for me, and I also don't know how I'd be able to handle the JRPG.
Final Fantasy VII is the Fight Club of video games, and that everybody knows what the twist is.
True.
That's the thing. I actually don't.
Yeah.
That's one of the few games
really?
I will admit,
into.
I've played it, and I don't know. I've played it. I've played the prequel. I don't know what the twist is.
Well, not
There's
the
a
twist,
twist.
but I mean like the climactic sad thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone
Everyone
See,
that's
I-
spoiled for 100% of all people forever.
It's
It's even spoiled by
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of Final Fantasy has been spoiled for me, but that's probably because of my own doing. My friends being all like, "Wait, we love Final Fantasy and its characters." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna watch cutscenes on YouTube." So yeah, that spoils it
Wow,
for me.
yeah,
there.
that would spoil it. To be fair, that's
yeah,
probably
you
the
know-
most interesting part of those games, so you're not really...
There are
That-
Final Fantasy games where you're eventually better off giving up and watching the rest on the internet instead of playing
Yeah,
anymore.
True,
Well,
true.
What
I hit
was
that-
it?
I hit
Couldn't
that point
Final
personally
Fantasy
with 13.
13's
Yeah.
be condensed into like a several-hour film?
13 to 15-hour film.
Jesus.
Oh, man.
It was.
Wow.
It was really long. Yeah. There were so many cutscenes.
And
in
yeah,
that
with
game.
so little story.
Eh.
My favorite in just terms of the like extraordinarily long cutscenes is still Metal Gear Solid's like finale, which is 2 hours
Yeah.
long, and you're barely playing it apart from a fist fight.
Yeah, and I
Oh yeah,
suppose
there's,
my other
there's definitely
games...
a part of Metal Gear 4 where you're on like the ship and people are having conferences and stuff, and you basically spend an entire 90 minutes not pressing a single
Yes.
button. To the point where if you're not playing around with the camera, tiny amounts of camera control you get to screw around with, the game will actually start like risking going to sleep on you and things.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually have never played a Metal Gear Solid game, and so my only experience was a Let's Play. And one of the episodes was suddenly 90 minutes long, and I'm like, why is it 90 minutes long? And I scroll down to the description and says, there's no gameplay happens in this one, so I just recorded the cutscene. And then just... Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
I was like,
if you're
that's
someone who tries not to
surprisingly
talk
forward.
during cutscene, Telltale games and Metal Gear games will put you to the test.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Well, these guys actually did great during cutscene commentary. But I think they're like the only ones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
so-
I ever get around to Metal Gear Solid 4 on the channel, I'd have to just I just have to avoid my own rule because I'm like, no, I need to talk about stuff while it's happening. 'Cause otherwise, it's just watching. I'm just uploading somebody else's work basically for an hour and a half.
All right.
Yeah, and I remember that a lot of old YouTube channels were just, hey, look at the cutscenes of this game condensed into a video or two.
Oh, that
yeah.
still happens.
Yeah.
If any game ever comes out and you want to know what happens in it, you just type that game, the movie, and you get all the cutscenes in one video.
So
that-
that's what
that-
they call it now.
Yeah, that's consistently still a thing people upload. It's just
Or
often not the best
gameplay,
way
no
to play the
commentary.
game. Also, the edits are
Well, but
all
that
over the
gives you the
place.
full game.
Yeah.
The edits are super all over the place now because it used to be that games were just cutscenes and just gameplay binaries, like a binary divide. But nowadays, so much dialogue happens during gameplay and stuff like that
need it.
you'll have like 17 completely different duration edits from different people of what they think the movie version of a game is because everyone's trying to figure out what to include. It gets
Yeah,
messy
so-
fast.
Yeah, so my spoiled games are pretty much anything on a system that I didn't
But like,
have.
it's not spoiled games. It's like a specific. I think you kind of missed the point of the
Okay,
question,
fine. What is it? A game that I can't go back and play because...
though. Well, the game where it's specifically ruined because people spoiled it. Like with Halo, it's not that Halo was ruined because it had been spoiled for you.
That's what
You
you
just
mean.
you didn't have quite the same experience. Whereas like,
Then I'd have to say Mass Effect.
yeah,
It's like some element of something that everyone's talking about, and not necessarily spoiling the story, but like just something about the impact being lost. Like Spec Ops: The Line can never have the right impact for people nowadays because everyone
Right.
knows what happens in it, and if they don't know what happens in it, they won't hear about the game in the first place to play it anyway. Now,
Yeah.
yep.
There was like a 1 week period where people might have bought it in stores not knowing what was happening in that game. But now everyone knows exactly what Spec Ops is or will never know ever.
Or the end of Modern Warfare.
Or Undertale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, for people watching...
Actually, that's a good one. Undertale Genocide mode was ruined so hard on my end.
For you. It was painful to watch how much it got ruined for you.
I'm actually still kind of pissy about it, and it's why I react really negatively to backseat gaming now. Effectively, I started doing my Genocide run, and people are like, "By the way, there's a secret thing if you go over here and do this and
just
do whatever."
Every single thing. I still haven't done Genocide.
Well, see, I was down for it because I was like, oh, yeah, let's just go through and find all that, secret shit that
everything that would happen, too.
Oh, yeah. Like how you had that one asshole that was trying to spoil Journey for you somehow. The whole time you're playing Journey, there's somebody in chat just explaining what was going to happen next the entire time. And I'm like, what are you doing with your life, dude? Why are you doing this? I don't understand your brain.
For a game so short, you could probably memorize it.
Yeah, well, with Journey, I think I tuned him out, but I think I was also totally engrossed in the game.
There was no reason to read chat during that game, but I was just baffled by that person's behavior.
Yes. What was this? What was the other thing? I actually had I had somebody I was doing a puzzle. This is 2 weeks ago in Digimon. I was doing a puzzle and they just gave me the answer. I was just like, come on! Really?
Yeah,
that's why I've got a policy, because I have a dedicated puzzle game slot now in my schedule, and when I just don't read the comments most of the time for those games, because people will literally just say what to do next, as they're a walkthrough. And I'm like, what do you think?
They'll be like, good job getting through that puzzle. Now here's what you need to do. You need to pull the third switch in the next room.
Oh yeah. So I have people doing that in Dragon Quest Builders, because I ranked fairly high on that one. And so I have people, I've pretty much ended that series. Technically I could go back to it, but it's just me dicking around in sandbox mode.
Yeah.
But I have somebody every episode he leaves a new okay, here's where you're gonna go to get this thing, and I'm like, this was filmed back in October.
I had a few people go through my witness playthrough and give me instructions throughout the entire thing, even though it's a 50-part series ending with an episode called 100% completion.
That's pretty gold right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we talked about this before.
For me, where the impact was ruined, this is kind of an interesting one. But the original Mario Kart on the SNES. Because I played Mario Kart 64 before I played Mario Kart on the SNES. So I was like, that's in my mind what Mario Kart was. And then I went to visit a friend and they didn't own an N64. But they were like, what do you want to do? And I play video games. And they're like, cool, you want to play Mario Kart? And I was like, yes!
Boy, howdy I do.
And then he pulls out an SNES and I'm like, I'm still with this idea. And then
I'm 12 and what is this?
Yeah. Then we loaded up the original SNES Mario Kart and I was like, oh.
It took me 20 years to find out that game exists.
Yeah,
because I also thought that that 64 was genuinely the first one.
Because it blows the SNES one out of the water.
Now, was it at all similar to the ones that you would have on the Atari when it comes to driving forward on a track, or do you have to drive?
So it was pre-3D more or less. So your character, it was like Doom, where your character is a two-dimensional model in the middle of the screen, and you're driving around on a board game.
Yeah, the
it's
a 3D
world,
flat. But everything is on one plane.
Yeah,
including
the first Mario Kart looks like
stuff.
It's inspired by those carpets that look like a city street that you have in
That's
daycares.
That's exactly the best way to describe it.
Yeah,
really?
The whole game looks like that.
It's completely flat. There are walls you can bump into, but you can't. They have no.
They don't stick up
to them. They're just stickers.
Yeah, it's like Road Rash, except Road Rash had trees.
Yeah.
So there's no side of things sticking out for the most part either. Yeah, it totally just looks like one of those carpets.
Road Rash. I'm never going to be able to see that game the same way now. Road Rash was a cool game. I never played it as a kid, but I would watch my older siblings and friends and all those people. They played it, and I don't know why I said siblings. I have one older brother, but that doesn't matter. So, I would watch, my brother and, his friends play Road Rash, and I'd be like, that's so cool! And then I would play Road Rash and immediately just, crash onto the ground, and, it'd be like, you lose! I'm like, I'm gonna go back to playing Mario.
That's how I felt recently, because I've been playing Yakuza 0, and it has a Sega arcade in it, because it's a Sega game, and Sega games like to have other Sega games. So you go into the arcade, and you play Outrun, and I'm like, I don't understand how to play this game. I genuinely can't tell how you play Outrun. Like, I just drove for a while, I'm like, I guess I'm doing alright, I'm going fast, and then it's like, you lose. I'm like, what? What happened? Was I in a place? Was I racing? Was I going somewhere? Did I run out of time?
Wait,
I don't know what the mechanics of the game were.
If it's something like Outrun, then you have to outrun something.
I don't know.
You don't actually do that in that game. It's really weird.
Really?
No.
Like, I got to the end and lost, and then it said. Then I saw a map of a bunch of like weird city blocks, and I'm like, I don't understand what that map is, but it charted my course. I'm like, I was taking a course. I was making decisions. Like, what's going on in this game? There was a period of arcade games where you just had to guess.
Well, no, what you had to do is read the manual.
But it was an arcade
Talk
game.
about it. Oh, shit.
I guess technically arcade games, especially back then, technically had a manual printed around the screen.
Yeah, they'd be printed around the screen, or you would just wait on the menu, and then text would come up a couple seconds later that would be in the year 1920 XDX, there was a man.
I remember I'd find
there was a dragon man.
I'd go to a place and find like a Street Fighter 2 turbo machine, and it would have like a badly drawn picture of Ryu on the side next to the screen that had like move sets and stuff like that. Like, technically, I guess they did have a manual in a way.
Yeah,
it's just
that's kind of weird to think about.
Super non-ideal.
I think it's really funny voice acting in games where the character, there's like a tutorial and another character is explaining to your character how to perform various tasks, and it's like, use your sword with B. And, it's just like, what?
Yeah,
honestly,
I hate tutorialization, honestly.
You can find Meryl's code on a codec code on the back of your manual.
Well, like, I've been playing Hollow Knight this past couple days, and it's just been such a, like, kind of beautiful experience of, like, there's no tutorialization, it's just like, here you are, go. And it's such a refreshing experience as opposed to, like, what were we playing recently, Shell, where one of the characters starts doing, like, tutorial dialogue, in the middle of story stuff. It's like, here's how you do this thing, and it's just like, I don't care.
Midna was.
Oh, yeah. Whenever, like, in Legend of Zelda, whenever any of the characters would, like, do tutorial stuff, I'm just like, just don't read that. I know how to play. Or I don't know how to play, and just give me a button prompt when it's relevant.
I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast before, but that was the part that's why I never really got into any 3D Zeldas.
Yeah,
because there's so much tutorial.
Like 15 minutes, it's like an hour of tutorial.
No, it's
honestly.
hours. Yeah. Oh, this is true of every Nintendo game, with maybe the exception of.
It's still true for Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Really?
It's just a nightmare of like really slow hand-holding, patronizing dialogue for as long as possible.
Metroid's not like that at all.
I think the only game where
I feel like Yellow just kind of threw you out into a field and was like, "Try not to get killed, kid."
Well, yeah, the original 6 or so were pretty anti-tutorial, except for
so why did they lose confidence?
That guy demonstrate.
Because they got popular.
Yeah, but that guy, you can even tell him, like, I don't want to see how to catch Pokemon. You could, like, skip it.
They were so mega popular back then, it's hard to think that they reached a level of popularity that needed to be more hand-holdy later.
Well, so here's the thing, though.
I'm an experienced Pokemaster.
All of the first two generations had come out before they got quote-unquote popular, because they'd been out in Japan for a while. It took several years for Gold and Silver to make it to the US. To some degree, yeah.
It's all the stupid Americans.
The rest of the world gets the game, goes bananas for it, and they're like, oh shit, this might be too hard for them. Let's actually start getting hand-holdier.
They always do that. Come on. They did that with Mario. They did that with Pokemon.
Sort of. It's not as bad with Mario. Mario has always been kind of like, here's how to jump, alright, we're done.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean about tutorialization. I mean, like, neutering the gameplay to be easier for Americans.
Oh, yeah.
What's the most mechanically complicated game in the series, though? Wouldn't it be like Sunshine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sunshine
That's
had
after that era.
tutorialization, though. Really bad.
Yeah, I guess it probably did. All those
Sort
new
of.
mechanics to deal
It
with.
had tutorialization, like, hard in the beginning, which is part of the reason why I never really liked playing it, never did a series on it, because it was just a little bit too hand-holdy. And then it lets loose, and it's just like, by the way, this game's hard as shit, and I'm like, I'm not adequately preprered for this, and you tried somewhat, which is
you
weird.
get to the pachinko machine level, and
Yeah.
you just quit life.
Yeah, at this point, I'm just satisfied to have watched that Let's Play instead, because I think that was more enjoyable than playing it myself. Even though, like, I have
That
to
was probably
say,
my favorite one growing up.
absolutely. Like, I've played Galaxy 1 and 2. I've watched Sunshine. I've watched and played bits of 64, and I have to say Sunshine probably is the best looking one / best one. It's just a matter of...
Sunshine is pretty amazing.
People
When it
so
came out as a
consistently
kid-
screw up 3D platformers that it's impressive how good that game is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Sunshine came out as a kid, I thought to myself, like, this is going to be this... I had no interest in playing that game. I was like, this is the stupidest thing. You're Mario, but you got, like, a hose? That's dumb.
Janitor Mario.
The one thing I will say about that, though, is they totally missed the bus on the controls. Like, that might have actually been the only game that would have actually been better with the Wii U or the Wii, like, motion controls.
Yeah,
because
really.
aiming with the control stick in that way was so painful, because it wasn't a third-person shooter. Like, if I remember right, to fire Flood accurately, you had to stop moving entirely. And that was...
The GameCube
That was the
controller
Resident
in
Evil
general
system.
was like kind of horrible. It was like
Yeah.
they asked Mad Catz to design their official controller.
I actually liked the GameCube controller. I thought it was really comfortable.
Fucking where. It's so
I mean,
many
it's
buttons.
a step up from 64.
Yeah, that's part of it.
true.
Makes a whole lot more sense than that controller did. I think Nintendo just wants to never have a formula.
Yeah,
Right.
Like
speaking,
every time they
speaking of-
design something, they just sort of like make splotches on a map
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
then figure out if your hand fits or not.
Speaking of
what's up?
controllers, I was actually looking at the Switch because I was intrigued by the prospect of using the one-hand controller and the other-hand controller as two separate mini controllers for people to play multiplayer with. And I realized that because of the asymmetry, one person has to reach so much farther across.
Yeah, if you guys haven't looked at the Switch
to get to the
controllers
buttons,
yet,
the other person has a disadvantage.
it
when
works
comes to reaching the
perfectly for
joystick.
doing kind of the Wii nunchuck thing where you have like, you know, one in each hand. But like, if there's a point where you have to share the controller with like one controller on one person, one controller for the other, it's like a nightmare situation because somebody has to reach their thumb like way out of ergonomic position just to reach the
Maybe
thumbstick.
in
and it's
Japan they
just
have
like,
longer thumbs.
I think that's false.
I doubt. Yeah,
well,
somehow.
Well, we have to actually wait to have one in our hands. Well, you had one in your hand, didn't you? Or no?
No, I had their Pro controller, which was very comfortable.
Okay, so that was the Pro controller, but it wasn't the Switch itself. You see, I can't tell whenever
you
they
don't
have
hold
the
the
people...
Switch to play the Switch. You don't hold
you
the Switch
can.
to play the Switch.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
guess you
talking
can.
about the
Right.
individual...
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to that for grinding and stuff. Like, that's what I liked about the Wii, but,
In the future,
or not the Wii, the Wii
audience
U.
members of Wanderbot, in the future, whenever he plays a Switch game, just consider the fact that he's also played that game when he's pooping.
I played in bed. I've never actually played anything. Don't steal my phone. I'm on my phone when I'm pooping, but I've never touched a game console in any way, shape, or form while pooping. Because I'm always afraid I'm going to drop it in the toilet because they're bigger and more unwieldy. And I dropped
I'm picturing Wander like putting a TV and like his PlayStation 4 on a cart and just wheeling it in and being like, "I'm not coming out for 3 hours. Don't knock."
God.
Time
for some heavy
That's like
lifting.
the old men with their newspapers.
childhood trauma time. I dropped a stuffed animal in a toilet when I was really young. So like I'm always super I don't want anything to do with like precious things and bathrooms. So like I've always been like super leery about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, the worst situation you can be in is if you put something in your rear pocket and you have to pull your pants down for the toilet, and yeah.
Oh no!
Something can plop into the toilet.
Have you been losing things in the toilet?
No, I never have. But I think, didn't you accidentally drop your iPod in?
No, I sent my iPod through the wash.
Okay, that was through the wash. Never mind.
That is distinctly different, but has the same result.
Yes, the
But
same
less poopy.
sad result. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. At that point, I wouldn't have tried to revive it. I tried very hard to revive my iPod and managed to get it mostly there, but it never ran the same after going through the wash.
Not the poop
I've never lost electronics to water yet, ever.
This was like the first time I'd ever lived on my own, so also the first time I'd ever really
done your own laundry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
Because, it was always kind of my mother's thing. And so,
Don't you hate it when you leave tissues in a pocket?
No, I do that with receipts.
Right, you
Or
can
like pieces
and
of
then it
paper in
becomes
my...
just
handkerchiefs.
like your pocket is just like full of crap.
Yeah, paper pulp. It sucks.
Paper
And it like infects the rest of your stuff too.
Yep.
So every once in a while you'll like put on a shirt and there's just like
A weird
couple
sliver.
words. Yeah, and it's just like ugh.
For us, it's hairballs everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's a hair monster. It's awful. Bird, do you have this with Lady Bird? Her hair is kind of like long and wavy.
Are we talking like
not
Addams
really.
Family?
Okay, because like I don't like wearing socks to begin with, but I especially
But
don't
you'll
like
use
wearing
wool
socks. I don't like wearing socks at all with her around after living with her, because invariably, because I got wool socks, they attract the hair more than anything else, and
I
fuse with it effectively. So, like, I have to drag out 3 hairballs before I can put on a sock.
I can't stand having stuff on my feet. I don't like socks and I don't like shoes. And like at work, I will instinctively like take my shoes off, and then people will be like, "Are you ready for this meeting?" And like 3 floors up, and I have to like actually put my shoes back on because I totally forgot that I take them off and I don't even realize I do it.
Do you have like work? Do you have like work flip flops or something?
No,
Or slippers?
I'm probably going to start having a change of shoes just for work.
Because when I was at college, I had a pair of flip flops that I would wear, and normally I'd just be sitting around barefoot. But if I need to go anywhere, flip flops on, go.
Yeah,
instead of having to put on my shoes.
I do
Unless it
have a
was
pair of
cold,
work
at which
shoes
point,
that unfortunately I need to get them replaced. But like, you know how work shoes are? They're basically not meant for anything other than looking good. Because if you walk in them for like 2 months, they're basically destroyed. At least that's how
I
my
learned
shoes
I
are.
learned that the hard way.
You mean like dress shoes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
Not work
shoes
shoes
for
as
the
in, like,
office, and
Boy
I would go
Scouts,
on walks, and they're gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
they're meant for
understand
just like
how
looking
thong
good
shoes
while
are
you walk around the
comfortable.
office.
Oh, not childhood trauma time. Teen trauma time. My first job ever, I worked at a grocery store, and their dress code was dress pants, dress shirt, dress shoes. And I was a cart monkey. Imagine being outside in like 90-degree weather with like
sucks.
a dress shirt, dress
Your
pants,
Sunday best.
dress shoes, and a tie.
That's just like
sucks.
a self-defeating premise.
I looked like a Cart-Mormon. It was awful.
a Cart-Mormon.
Well, no, like black pants, white shirt.
That's why I was saying your
black
Sunday
tie.
best.
Yeah, like I looked.
What
I
alien
looked
force
like
is this?
just hand me a little booklet and I could go proselytizing.
Yeah, really.
But I had to work that way for like the first year, and then I quit because it sucked, and I was
Have you
going to
heard
college,
about
and I
our
came
Lord
back
and
for.
Savior, Big Lots? He's come to deliver great savings to us all.
I come back to the store.
gets the oil.
I come back to the store a year later, and they finally changed their policy for like allowing black shoes and stuff.
Oh yeah, most stores allow you to wear sneakers.
But it was just this like
Or black sneakers.
awful backwards policy of just like
We were at a parking garage earlier today, actually, and the attendant was in like a full suit and tie, and I was just like, well, as we drove away, I was like, if I had to work in a garage and wear a suit and tie, I would probably quit after 3 hours.
I would hate the
That's just
smell, the
maddening.
humidity of garages.
It ruins your
it's
suit
just-
because it just smells like gasoline and humid. It'd be terrible.
Then again, was this like just a regular parking garage?
Yeah.
Or is this a fancy one?
multi-storied
No,
garage.
it was just a parking garage.
Oh, because I was going to say, if this is one of those, like, ones aimed at, like, rich people, and you get, like, the crazy good tips for being a valet.
Dude,
okay,
it was a garage. $7 full day parking.
Wow, that is...
Pretty expensive, yeah. But the point is, it's in the middle of the city, so there you go.
$7 for full day parking?
Yep.
That is dirt cheap. Holy shit. I'm from Boston. It costs like $20 for a full day parking.
Holy shit. No way.
Yeah, that was like the shitty ones. We were in Boston for actually remember when we went to MagFest?
Mm-hmm.
Some of those hotels had like parking garages attached to them.
Right.
You probably we just parked in the open lots and whatever. Well, my friend had to pay, I think it was close to $20 a day for that. But we were doing Boston Comic Con or something, or maybe it was Anime Boston back when I still did conventions. She had to pay like $35 a day for the convention parking.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was
speaking
it was
of convention, when is PAX West and how many people are coming?
I want to say it's
soon, right? It's like in
somewhere between. I think it's end of September.
Okay, Lady Bird says September. Okay,
soon?
I'll have to see
That's
if
More like half a year away.
Yeah.
I thought it was soon. I thought it was like next month.
What? No.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's that far away, then that's not a problem. But I hope you all come. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe. I've never been to any convention.
PAX is probably the best, sort of, for like convention stuff.
For buttons.
So like part of it is PAX is a very low. It's a very low commitment convention. You can technically, if you go on Friday, you can get through all of PAX in one day, and then after that, it's just fluff.
You just
there are a
sprint
couple
from one
parties
side to the other and shove everyone.
Well,
That's the thing. We haven't really attended good.
You're like, I did it.
Yeah,
I beat
so-
PAX.
MagFest
Level 1
absolutely
clear.
is the good convention
It's
to go
very
to if you want to like.
intellectual, we'll say.
It's very intellectual, but like beyond that, it's a well run convention. It's not too packed. All panels, except for like if the Game Grumps show up or something, you're pretty likely to be able to get into whatever panel you want. You might just be in the back. There tends to be good content, and the only shitty part about MagFest is their indie game section is atrocious. There's nobody there.
Yeah, I hope that maybe next year they have more.
Yeah,
indie
maybe.
games.
I'm not holding out for it, but I also don't care that much because it's probably going to be fun one way or another. But so I'm probably down for it.
I'd love to do
I gotta
MagFest
see
again next year. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
On the
I
topic
know a
of
couple artists
parking
that
from a
sell
moment
at
ago,
MagFest.
Why, you have something to contribute for parking? Let's hear it.
it's just I get really uncomfortable about the parking places that don't have machines. So if they don't have a machine,
the like ticket machine,
you like pay a guy and you give that guy your keys, and you're like, did I just help somebody steal my car? Like I can't. It's so there's so little to it that it's immediately super suspicious. Because I went somewhere for a job interview. Actually, I was just trying to hand in a job application at a location in Sacramento when I was going around looking for my water board position before that even happened. And I never had really tried to go to in the middle of a city location before. I'm like, oh, there's no parking anywhere. You have to actually go to a place to park. Like that's a new thing for me as somebody lived in just like suburban places.
Yeah.
I'm just used to parking lots being everywhere. And yeah, I went in and I paid a dude and gave him my keys. And I'm like, I'm super uncomfortable about this entire premise. Like, how screwed am I if this is even slightly illegitimate? Like, it's so different from just having the usual thing where it's like just a machine and you put money in and then you come back before your ticket expires and never give anyone your keys, most importantly.
In Albuquerque, in downtown, there was this thing for a long time, and they couldn't do like hardly anything about it, where they had a couple of just like lots that what you would do is there was a box, you would just put a couple bucks in. So what people would do...
Honor system kind of thing?
No, they would. The attendants would come around and see if there was. They would like collect the cash out of the box and then give you a ticket if you were parked there when you shouldn't have been. But what people would do,
if there wasn't enough money in the box?
Would people take the money?
No. It was on a per slot basis. So
so there was a money box for each.
Yeah, there was
slot.
a box for every slot. So, but what people would do, it was completely unattended otherwise. So what people would do is they would go to those lots and they would put out little fold-out signs that said, like, event parking or, like, special event parking, $5 or something. And they would just sit there and then you would pay that dude. But he was just, like, scamming everybody. He would just, like, collect money for, like, half an hour and then he would leave. And then
everyone gets tickets.
Yeah, then everyone would get tickets because they didn't put money in the box. They gave it to the scammer instead. And it took them years to eventually just like start like getting rid of those people.
Just get meters at that point.
Get an attendant is the main thing.
That's what it
Someone has to
actually
be actually working there.
Yeah, well, they were private lots. So the company that owned the lot was just like, I like money more than ethics, so fuck doing anything about it.
Like many private companies, they just wanted money.
So eventually the city passed like an ordinance to get them, like, force them, they had to pay an attendant to be there. But
I've engaged in my little bit of ticket fraud before. Not like manipulating other people, but like get it just the equivalent of sneaking into theaters for ticket locations.
Oh, okay.
Where we would always go to the local national park place, and it's a great place just to go around because it's a cool hiking area. We'd always go in without paying because it was just it's like an honor system practically. And you're supposed to have your ticket with you that you got from the machine, and we would always say that we left it in the car because we thought we were supposed to put it in the dashboard. We would just and we used the same lie for years. We would just always pretend to be dumb, and they would always forgive us and let us. And they're like, whatever, because I don't think they ever do anything. But we just always pretended that we thought that you're supposed to put the ticket in your dashboard, like at a parking place, when you're supposed to take it with you into the park.
Oh wait, was this a private park, state-owned? What was it?
I think it's a state park.
Wow.
So it'd be like there's just like one ranger wandering around, and one out of every 3 times you went, you would encounter them, and we would always just lie about the ticket.
Oh,
my
I
tax
suppose in
dollars
New York they did have some.
went to cover
my tax dollars funded that one fence around that place that just sits there.
It went to cover your freeloading ass. We can no longer be friends.
It's like a couple dollars.
I've
had the weird experience of.
You probably cost me like 0.002 cents.
I've had the weird experience of going most of my life without ever handling cash.
Yeah.
So whenever a place expects cash out of me, I'm always like, what?
It actually makes a lot of sense in California because they tended to modernize a little bit faster than a lot of other states.
Right.
So you never really had to go through the experience that, other states would have necessarily.
That's very true.
I know with Boston, it took them forever to modernize like anything, which is weird because it's a pretty modern state. It's just like they are one of the last states to get like texting while driving laws in and shit like that. And it was like a huge hubbub too. Everybody was just like, no, like no restrictions on texting while driving. And it's like
the thing about Boston,
that's like the worst thing.
The thing about Boston is you have this gigantic city surrounded by an even more gigantic amount of suburbs, and basically like those two groups of people will always be in contention with each other and never agree.
Half the state is like uninhabited
the Romulans?
Comparatively, but like it's like all suburbs.
In the Northeast, it's a lot of forest.
Well, yeah, that's New York. New York's spread out a little bit, but like you get to Boston or Connecticut, it's just kind of this like awkward nightmare cluster.
Well, that's because your roads don't even make sense.
Oh, they're awful. I'm so glad I don't live there anymore.
I misheard what you just said, Keith, as the Capulet, or the Capulets and the Romulans.
No, I said that.
Oh, you did say that?
Yes.
Oh. Well, that's a funny thing that you said, and I'm
until
glad
you
that
acknowledged
I heard
it.
it
I was sitting here
correctly.
thinking like, until you acknowledged it, I'm sitting here thinking like someone's going to hear that in the comments. Like someone's going to pick up on what happened.
I like that one a lot. I like Shake Sword.
Star Trek and Shakespeare, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So do we want to talk about games before we go too far? Because
with bullshit,
you like to talk about Wanderbot.
Well, I mean,
no, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I mean, I'm playing Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is good.
It's pretty fun looking, that's for sure.
It's full of bugs.
It's probably the perfect Metroidvania comparatively. Like, we played Ori and the Blind Forest together, and that was good fun. And I think Keith played Ori and the Blind Forest himself.
I love it.
Separately. Yeah, so if you liked Ori and the Blind Forest, you probably really enjoy Hollow Knight, because it
does feel very similar, just watching.
It's so tight, comparatively. Like, I'm currently just running around fighting things to farm money, because this way I don't have to do it actually on stream cam or whatever. But, like, every zone is, like, visually distinct and really, really fun to explore.
Still very
They've got
monochromatic.
They've got the like classic thing where you like unlock new means of like getting around and stuff. But it's almost never like a key. It does the Dark Souls thing of like you get past a certain point and then you can kind of turn around and unlock every single shortcut that you've missed or you've like kind of run into.
Side.
Exactly. And so there's like a billion of those. So by the end of it, you're just like, I can traverse the whole area freely now, and it feels really good, because previously I was locked into this one little zone, and I've actually had a lot of people respond to the first episode be like really pissy about how restrictive the level design is, because they can't go anywhere or explore. And then for me, I'm just like, I'm like way later, and it just feels so
expansive.
Good being able to just there's so much to like look around. One of my problems
First impressions are magical. Like I've been watching so many weird occurrences lately of people seeing the very beginning of a game and having the complete wrong idea of what the entire game is.
Yeah. So
how far into a game would you guys say is your breaking point for
before I stop
tolerating?
giving it a chance?
Yeah.
You can't
Roughly
say
about
a
20
number.
minute. If I'm not having fun by the 20-minute mark, I'm usually giving up.
Yeah,
Like-
you can have a personal policy, but there's no true answer for how long it'll take a game to become the game. Like it's all over the place. Like
The
one of the
easiest
weirder
way
ones I've had recently was that like Let It Die. I was playing Let It Die, and for the first hour, I was doing tutorials and reading things and stuff. Somebody was like, "Is this a video game or a movie?" Like I'm sick of video games just being cutscenes and bullshit. I'm like, and as somebody that was already like 5 hours into Let It Die, I'm like, that's not a complaint to put at this game at all, because the game has like no cutscenes in it after the first intro.
It's a little aggressive with its tutorialization, though. I did not really appreciate the just how much like it was like kind of pushing you along with like basics.
It's one of those
But
games where it's hard to avoid it, because the moment you step out of the base, you're stuck in like the actual game where shit's going down. So they have to jam all of the tutorials in the beginning and just give you the option to read it when you want to. Because otherwise everything... Like, the tower literally changes format from day to day.
Ooh.
That's cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
can't put stuff in the environment because it'll move.
That's a neat game that I hate the aesthetic for so much. Like, I love Dark Souls because it's like gothic-y medieval. I like Neo because it's just feudal Japan with like demons and magic and shit. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. Let It Die is just like grunge Tokyo, but with
Hobo fight the
screaming
video
people.
game.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it gets more interesting as you go along.
It's a whole
But
game where homeless naked people hit each other with improvised weapons in the sewers.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, pretty
Yep.
much.
Pretty much what the game looks like.
Whereas, like, Hollow Knight, across the board, in my opinion, is nailed set design. Like, the first is just kind of this, like, basic, kind of ruined-looking, kind of... I don't know exactly what I call it,
Now
but...
you're in like a cathedral.
Yeah, I'm in
area.
this, like, gothic cathedral that's, like, this, ruined city.
But it's bug theme.
Okay,
Everything's
Keith.
bugs.
The city at the end of Dark Souls 1, sort of, before you get the... Oh, shit, it's been a long time since I played Dark Souls 1. Anor Londo, there we go. I wanted to say Lordran, but I knew it wasn't Lordran.
I'm
it was
like,
bottom.
what?
Lordran.
There's no city at the end of that game.
Well, end-ish, sorry.
Yeah.
It's like the major set piece.
You ring two
Kind of in
bells
a
and then you're
linear-
there.
I guess.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
that
know.
doesn't take most people like 12 hours because we don't all watch YouTube videos and have it spoiled, Keith.
Because after that, you have to go get the 4 primal souls or whatever they were. And
I never
Yeah.
even beat the Kako demon or whatever the second guy was.
Kakarot!
Guy
Carrot
sucked.
cake!
The Caco Demon?
Carrot
Oh,
The goat guy,
Yeah.
the Capra Demon. I did beat him. I forgot about that.
Oh,
He sucked.
Capra Demon
Carrot Cake.
was what got me to quit the game the first time around, because that
He's awful.
fucking dog.
Yeah,
like, the boss
so
itself was
I
really
never
easy.
knew
The
for
dog.
the longest time why that was supposed to be so hard, because I went in for the first time blind with an upgraded claymore and did a horizontal swing that one-shot both dogs the moment I walked in. And so I didn't even think about the dogs and just went on to fight this weird demon monster in a narrow space and beat it, and it was fine. And then find out later how tough it is, and would even experience firsthand later. So it's one of the only fights I've ever done in a video game that got harder after I've beaten the game, because the first attempt was so weirdly lucky and fortuitous that hitting it later while overthinking it led to the problems of what actually makes it hard.
But so like this game aces the set design really well. Like I remember, Keith, you had some complaints about like Salt and Sanctuary, how like the level design was kind of garbagey comparatively. Like this does everything that Salt and Sanctuary kind of did, but I guess you're really just locked into one weapon type and stuff like that, which I guess is kind of the... I don't know.
For me, the big thing with Salt and Sanctuary is just the fact that I like exploration games, but it's a 2D game instead of a 3D game, which makes it inherently harder to tell where the hell you are, which is why every game in that genre has a map, and that one doesn't have a map.
Yeah, this one has a map.
Soulsy too hard.
In fact, the map part of this is one of my favorite things that you get, because you don't have the map initially. You have to find an NPC who sells you the map. So you spend the first couple minutes of the game completely blind, having no idea where you're going and stuff like that.
You don't need a map if you make a rail shooter.
But so you're going through everything completely blind, and then eventually you get access to the map. But you don't know where you are on the map because you don't have a compass. So you have to buy the compass from the guy's wife. But the compass is an optional thing that you slot in with all your other upgrades. So it's kind of a trade-off. So, like, do I want to know where I am, or, like, do I want this thing that makes it so I fart death clouds whenever I get hit? It sounds goofy, but that one's actually, like, amazing. But then from there, you have to buy a bunch of tokens that populate your map with, like, where various important locations are. And if you don't do that, it's just kind of a pain in the butt. But, like, it sounds kind of tedious and grindy to get this stuff, but it's one of those that, because you have to grind to some degree to get these, and really you just get money for free, just running around fighting things. As long as you don't die and lose all your shit, you're good. But because it kind of gates this, your kind of exposure to everything is limited, so it feels like you're really exploring. And by the end of it, I actually, at the beginning of this podcast, one of my fans popped in to say, by the way, if you double tap the map button, it brings up the whole map. And I open it up, and it's just like, oh my god, now I understand where everything is now. And it feels so good, especially when you get like that shortcut, because there's a shortcut there, but you haven't known like how to get to the other side for ages, and then you get to it, and you're just like, yes, all right, now I can get back from here. And it doesn't do the Dark Souls 2 thing where you can just teleport from every bonfire. There's specific like rail stations that called stagways that you can take, and they're scattered all over. But there's only a couple of them, so you kind of have to like pace it out and like figure out where you want to take the stagway in from. Because if you take the wrong way, it might be a long walk after you die. And it just, I don't know, it just feels really good at completing the map and like getting this, I mean, just quality exploration feeling down. And then, obviously, there's a ton of, like, weird secrets and bonus zones that you go back, with the Metroidvania power-up. So it's like, now you have wall jump. Now you can go get X. And I did that, and I was thinking, I'm just going to go farm for money. And then there was a secret boss hiding on the other side. It murdered my face.
That was one of the really rough things about Salt and Sanctuary, is that whole genre always has a map, and then you get your powers that unlock new things, and you're like, okay, I'll go prodding around all those places where there's, like, parts where the hallway clearly dead ends where I couldn't continue. And in Salt and Sanctuary, you're like, oh, cool, I have the power to wall jump now. where do I use that?
Yeah, this
Like, I don't
one's
even, you're at a point where you don't even know what your loose ends were, and you're like, I guess I'll just replay levels randomly.
Yeah, Metroid Prime was like that. You had to
sucks.
go back and just recall. Oh yeah, I could blast this thing that I wasn't able
This
to
one's super
before I
obvious
could-
where
It should
those are
pop up
because
as icons in your map.
there aren't too many of them.
Yeah, but
Ori
Salty
did
didn't
that
have a
really,
map
really well,
at all.
actually, showing
Yeah.
off the like all your loose ends. Like
Yeah,
you'd see like
that's
this
why I was-
really obvious wall thing, and then you'd know
That's
like,
why-
oh yeah, there you go.
That's why I brought up Ori and the Blind Forest before I brought up Sultan Sanctuary or Valda's story.
Yeah,
Because it feels like you take Ori and the Blind Forest's like exploration, but combo it with like actual type Metroidvania as opposed to just really good platformer with Metroidvania elements. I don't know. I'm really impressed, and I'm just kind of constantly surprised that nobody seems to give a damn about this game comparatively.
It's not a great time to come out as a video game.
Oh yeah, it's an awful time. I'll
just compete against,
Everything.
Horizon Zero Dawn and, I don't know, a video game console
Breath
launch.
of the Wild. Yeah.
Is it on the Switch?
It will be coming to the Switch, yeah.
Because
Oh,
launching
that
on
was
a
good for
Switch, not if it doesn't launch on the Switch, it's kind of a missed opportunity for its launch. Because
Yeah, I don't
obviously
know if they're
that's
launching it on the Switch.
Because if you launch
like with the
if you
Switch.
launch on the Switch, then you are riding
One of the
on the
first
hype of the
games.
Switch. But if you're launching a counter to the Switch, then you're competing with the Switch. Which, admittely,
I think
Nintendo
that-
console launches aren't the best thing ever. But you're an indie game.
Speaking of launch indie games for the Switch, though, Has Been Heroes is something you might want to look into. I played it at PAX South, and it was really good.
And by the way, speaking of rough launch times, at the same
Yes.
time as Horizon Zero Dawn is the 1.0 launch of Torment, the
Yeah.
sequel to Planescape Torment.
I saw
Oh,
that,
they're
and I
making
was
a
just like,
sequel to Planescape Torment.
well,
It's been in early access for a while,
for,
but they
yeah,
put a launch
like a
date
year.
the week before the Switch. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Oh,
Wow.
wait, now wasn't Planescape Torment? Didn't they have the same style of filmography that Myst did at one point?
no.
Where you
That
No,
was
I
a
think
Baldur's
with
Gate
live
style
action
top-down thing.
Yeah,
yeah, it's like Pillars
like
of
a
Eternity,
CRPG.
and
yeah.
Oh, but it didn't have cutscenes? Because I thought I remember seeing
Nope,
something
very
like
little.
you're thinking of something else, I think.
it was
I mean,
similar.
honestly, just on the topic of poor launch times, I have to comment that Horizon Zero Dawn launching so close to Breath of the Wild is
It's
probably a
also
huge
iffy.
mistake.
Your open world
'Cause
run around with like
Everything's just
retro
launching together.
weapons.
It's terrible.
Yeah, like, I'm looking forward to Horizon Zero Dawn more than Zelda, just because Zelda games can always be a little bit fiddly, and the plots are kind of non-existent, and I'm like, Horizon Zero Dawn looks like it could actually be really good, but that launch, they're so close together, and that, like, from my perspective, they look so similar. It's just like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
Pace it out,
It's
man.
strange, yeah.
in Zelda, don't they have giant mecha monster, like, magical constructs thing going on, too?
They kind of do. They also do the open world thing that you're exploring and climbing and shit, and you're crafting resources and
Yeah, like a lot of games go with the like different audience argument, basically. In this specific case, though, feels like it might be a very similar audience, so I don't know why they're coming out like the same time.
Hoteling, man. If you're gonna compete, just compete directly.
I guess it just bothers me because there's so many times where like there aren't games coming out that like I kind of understand from like
I don't know how you've ever found those times because I've been looking for them. I need them sometimes.
well,
Keith,
okay,
the
so
trick is to
I'm
not play
drowning.
13 games every single
well,
day.
no. Well, I do the same thing. It's just I play shorter games than Keith does, or I'm also willing to quit games if I don't like them. Whereas Keith is very, very staunch about
For
his
me,
must
going
finish
into
everything.
why a game sucks is fascinating.
For me, my problem is if it sucks too much, it's just like I can't bring myself to play it anymore.
Oh no, I
'cause
will
I only-
spite my way straight through Final Fantasy 15. And I
And
did.
you have no one to blame but
And
yourself.
some people were mad at me, and some people were super
Somebody
into
actually
it.
left. Somebody actually left like a really, really in-depth comment comparing and contrasting Final Fantasy 15 and Xenoblade Chronicles X, and how Xenoblade Chronicles X was the better game. And I was
Well,
reading it, and I was
that.
like, he's right.
It
which
might
is
be
weird
a better
because
game. I don't know. All I know is I can't look at Xenoblade Chronicles because I
It's
hate
too anime.
I hate what everyone's wearing. There's a woman that is wearing like a checkered board dress where one of the tile types is just naked skin, and I'm like, what the fuck is that clothing? I can't.
Wow, that's a little much.
I can't
Wait, that was
as
the
any of my
Xenoblade?
protagonists.
Or was that Tails?
No, that was Xenoblade. That was one of the things that you could have a person wear. Are you thinking X or Xenoblade Chronicles 2? Because I don't remember the checkerboard thing, but it's been a while. I put out all of my
I've never
people in,
played 2.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is coming out on the Switch in a couple
no, I'm
months.
talking about the one that's out. The one that where they were like, Xenoblade, we're gonna make this game that's just not Xenoblade and call it a sequel.
Well, now they're making a sequel, which has nothing to do with the first one, which is also super confusing, but whatever.
You see,
Another
I remember
one?
the
So that they
checkerboard
just don't-
outfit, but it was in a different game.
So this series just doesn't want to make sense, basically.
Yeah, well, it's made by the guy that made Xenogear and Xenosaga,
So Shell, the checker thing's common. Like, I'm playing Tales of Berseria, and I have a party member named Magilu that has like a pink and black checkerboard dress, and Resident Evil Revelations 2 had a girl that had like checkerboard like leggings and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
in Xenoblade there was a person where they just had half clothes, half not clothes in a checkerboard pattern. I'm like, what are you doing?
Ew.
Right. And I saw this one, but it was in, what was that game that you were playing? It may have been a Tales game or something. There was a kid in a town, and I was only there for
Really narrowing it
2
down.
episodes.
JRPG starting in Village somewhere.
Oh, Star Ocean.
Maybe a little bit of
It was
innocence.
Star Ocean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, he identified it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, Star Ocean's what I'm thinking of. I hate it.
Yes.
I think that's the
Yeah,
one
that's
where,
the
like,
one.
I'm like, I can't look at this game. I can't look at this
Yeah.
for even a second.
Yeah, that one was terrible. And
That
there
one
was
was
the checker girl.
That one was kind of this like interesting mix of just like, this could have been good if they had actually bothered to develop it instead of co-developing 2 Star Ocean games at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Is Xenoblade, you could have all your characters look like Spartans, which was
Wait a
really
second.
cool.
Xenoblade Chronicles was the one with the fucking potato that you kept trying to
Yeah.
eat, but never got eaten.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
that one.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, Star
Tatsu.
Ocean's the one. Star Ocean was the one where I couldn't look at it for 2 seconds. Xenoblade was the one where I looked at the combat and was like, no. No, thank you.
I
This looks
actually
like,
like
it looked like
It
an
was-
MMO.
It was kind of it did look exactly like an MMO. It was kind of a fun game to watch, though, for sure. I'm not sure what it was like to play, but watching it, it was like, yeah, I can put this on in the background while
The
I
combat was actually really
do
good
stuff.
to some degree, because the point of it was like stacking different status effects to like knock enemies over and shit, and that was actually way more important than the previous game, because you had to knock over the robots to even kill them, because they were immortal otherwise, because they had like human souls and shit in them. It was weird.
Oh, wait. So
For me, the important thing was
I remember
just-
seeing Numenera as, wasn't it a tabletop game?
I have no idea.
Shell.
I have no
They
idea.
have a tabletop role-playing game for it. in
Shell.
stores. Sorry.
But Xenoblade was good. The problem is the plot was so patchwork, it was hard to get into.
Yeah.
Because it did the Final Fantasy thing, but now that I've played Final Fantasy, they did it better than Final Fantasy to some degree, because it was patchwork, but like it was
God.
cohesive. And
Have we
there
gotten
were
into Final Fantasy 15 at all?
I
We
think
have.
Since
Did we?
After we reached the plot point part, as opposed to just our general...
I think we just kind of passed over it, being like,
Yeah,
mostly
you
talked
guys never
about its
talked
weird
about it.
open world stuff, but not the plot nightmare. Whew.
yeah.
That's because it gives stuff away.
Short version of Final Fantasy is like, here's this open world. Okay, it doesn't matter. Here's a couple of plot cutscenes
They
that
made
are
two
important.
different
Okay, that
games.
doesn't matter anyway. Okay, now here's a couple of like points where you have to do fetch questy shit. Go into dungeons, get these cool king swords, but they don't matter either, because you never
fail
really
everything
have to
you
use
do.
them, and it's just kind of like the MacGuffin that you have to get. Okay, now that you've done some of that stuff, now go here, because this is where the plot starts. But here's a vaguely unexplained set of cutscenes where all the interesting shit happens off camera. Your love interest dies, and then you're angry, and one of your friends is blind now. You're welcome. And it's just like, what?
So, it's a game where everything happens off camera. And what was really baffling to me is people were like, what's wrong with stuff happening off camera? It's like, well, then why am I watching it? Like, at some point...
Let me play as those characters. I don't want to play as
you
like
have to-
You
whining
could play this
princeling.
video game, or you could
You
crack open
basically
a beer.
have to look up a synopsis to figure out what's happening in the game half the time. Like, just to spoil the game at this point. Like, the freaking... So, like, throughout the entire game, you're constantly being antagonized by this empire. And so, unless you, carefully read some sort of weird mystery things, like... You most likely, as a player, are going to think that the antagonist of the game is the Empire, and your goal is to stop the Empire. Like, that seems like a very reasonable conclusion to draw. Like, you're gonna go, you want to marry your fiance and stop the Empire that keeps attacking you all the time, and that's reinforced by the fact that the Empire separates you from your fiance, kills your dad, kills your entire kingdom off camera, kills your dad off camera, kills everything off camera. So, like, okay, so the bad guy's the Empire, let's stop the Empire. Then the Empire dies off camera.
He's not kidding.
The Empire dies off
technically,
camera.
Dad gets killed by the Empire on the movie, so go
which is
watch
off
the
camera.
movie. But yeah, off camera game wise. They even showed like
pretty
cutscenes.
great.
They did like a montage from the movie
You
in the
arrive
game.
at the Empire, and the Empire has fallen. And you're like,
Yes.
that would have been cool to see. What the fuck's happening?
That
in
would have
this
been
game?
really cool to have a hand in, maybe.
Yeah, you just arrive there. I'm like, they've been antagonizing me the entire game, and they're already gone. What am I doing in this game? And
It
at some
sounds
point,
like some...
the game has
Sorry?
so many freaking MacGuffins. You can't tell which ones matter anymore at some point, unless you do research about what the plot of the game is. Because like, you're collecting 13 royal arms, but you're also getting the approval or blessing of like the 6 gods, but you also have you also have your father's sword, and you also have a magical ring, and you can't tell what any of them are collectively supposed to do or what your goal is without doing like background lore research. Like, this is a Dark Souls game. It's really hard to understand how this game happened story wise. Like it's a great test on this game, and Suicide Squad are great tests for people trying to figure out whether or not people understand what a good story is fundamentally. Because the people that support that game and Suicide Squad are both people that like genuinely don't understand concepts of story structure or even telling a story and just accept anything. Because the thing about Final Fantasy 15 is it doesn't really have plot holes. Once you figure out what the hell's going on paper, the story doesn't really have like logic gaps and plot holes. It's just a terrible story that's terribly told.
But do you know what it does? It takes away all agency from the main protagonist, which does.
Oh yeah, he just ping-ponged from like spot to spot, being sadder and grumpier repeatedly. And to be fair, of all of the Final Fantasy characters, he's probably the one that had the most cause to be sad and grumpy. Oh, yeah. And of all of the Final Fantasy games, he's the one that gets the most amount of shit for it. Like, his fiance dies, and one of his friends corners him on a train, being like,
"What the hell's
you need to
wrong
grow
with
up
you?
and
It's just
stop
everyone
being
you've ever
sad
loved has
about things." And it's like, literally, this poor kid has spent his entire life building up to, like, effectively be a civic slave, and,
I mean, I feel like the bulging host had a pretty sad backstory to his business.
Okay, that's an in-joke that should stay in BirdBot shenaniganry.
Fine.
No,
We'll bring that up.
What matter,
Okay, no, let's explain the joke so Keith's with us on that one.
One question though. What manner of creature is making the host bulging?
It's
The
himself.
host is bulging. He himself is the bulging one.
Wait, you interrupted
He made himself that
He
way.
was
He is
starting to
host to
explain the
something.
in-joke, and you interrupted his explanation to ask him to explain the in-joke.
Yeah, okay, so the bulging... So this
He
is
was literally
a...
like,
I
you
know
should
the
explain
story
this, and
of
you're
it.
like, wait, explain this part. I'm like, but what?
I know that they saw something in a game.
Yes, okay, so... But Keith doesn't know that. The audience that hasn't watched Pixel Profiteers doesn't know that, Shell.
Fine.
I was planning on just coasting right on this point, but I'm glad to bring this train
Okay.
wreck rolling.
So the bulging host is an in-joke that Bird and I have from Pixel Profiteers because we're watching this dumb cutscene, and then just this, like, slug monster comes scooting over just to say hi.
And it just scoots back off camera.
Yeah, it like paused for a second and like started scooting away, being like, "Whoops, sorry to interrupt." Because normally the game is totally frozen while you're doing cutscenes, but apparently that's only for things on camera.
Yeah.
And so from our perspective, it's just this like really goofy thing. But then we kill it later, and its name's the bulging host, and we're talking about like we had just been talking about like what if Titus was like super macho. And so that devolved into a conversation about what if you replace a character from anything with the bulging host? And so Titus with the bulging host, Scooby-Doo with the bulging host. It was good stuff. Okay. Anyway,
a
So lots
golden
of pixel
NPC name.
privateers to get the funnies.
It makes me think of how I've been playing Yakuza 0 and I encountered an NPC called Walking Erection.
What?
Yep. Yep. that was when the text popped up for him to talk. The little name above it was Walking Erection. I'm like, okay.
Who named them? Why named them?
So he was like, well, it wasn't completely unfitting because he was a guy running around town in his underwear. He literally tours back and forth between like the phone call center for dating girls and the like softcore porn VHS tape thing where you watch girls take baths fully clothed, and all the other vaguely like not porn and not prostitution forms of porn and prostitution that were in 80s Japan. And he just does that all day, and he's called the Walking Erection. And that game is a thing. By the way, that's a great game. That's
at some point, you're gonna have to explain the Yakuza series to me because I see cutscenes from it, and I just don't get it.
It's such a great game. So Yakuza 0 is the only one I've played so far, and it's fitting because it's the beginning of the timeline. It's a prequel to all the other ones, which is perfect because you meet the characters when they're starting out. So it starts off as a serious, like carefully directed mafia drama, basically. And it's directed by a guy who makes Yakuza movies. Like they brought him on board for this movie. That's how well made it is. Like it's great writing, great direction, like tons of facial animations and careful tone and camera angles that are like look like they're just done by an actual cinematographer that knows his stuff. And like a plot where like every time you go halfway through a mission, your entire idea of where the story is going has changed, but not in like a ridiculous way, but in a natural way. That's that because it's just an interesting story full of tosses and turns. The way that it has to be if you're going to make an extended crime story that takes place on a TV show or a game as opposed to a movie. Like it has to have tons of things going on. It's a super engaging story. And your character's all stoic and serious, but like feels like a real person. Then you get to the open world segments where you can sing karaoke, and you sing karaoke, and a full-on music video featuring your characters playing on the screen, and he's still stoic and serious on his face with like his like crazy samurai eyebrow like grimace and everything, but like singing an amazing rock ballad while everyone's covered in color. And like you'll see like your character will be like you'll be playing as the most hardcore brutal dude, and you'll be doing like this like happy sassy Gucci maraca dance around song and stuff. And
is
you
it
can
in
go
English or Japanese?
You can go to discos and you'll be like doing serious discoing. And it's the whole game's in Japanese voice acting with English subtitles. They tried to do the first game in English way back in the day, and that's the only one time they ever did it. But apparently, the guy that played one of the major characters was not Heath Ledger, Mark Hamill. So
speaking of serious discoing,
Joker voice was in Yakuza 1. But like
somebody
you'll go
should
around.
Yeah.
It's a straight up plot point at some point that your protagonist is just so cool that he emanates cool to anyone walking around him, and it's regularly the actual plot of side quests. And the side quests are so.
Like you. Do you have like little children coming up and saying, "Teach me your ways"?
I want to be the guy too.
So some of them are era pieces, and so one of them is they have a quest called Damned Yankee that's based on actual band that happened around the era where. It's a bunch of preppy, awkward, like nerdy guys that got together and made a band, but they got like a proper like punk audience, and so they're all prissy and awkward, and they don't know what to do because they're gonna have their first ever Q&A panel, and they've until now they've only just done the shows, and they have this huge punk audience, but they're not punk at all, and so they don't know how to appeal to their own demographic because it's like the equivalent of like a Insane Clown Posse where there's like an actual specific demographic of people that call themselves something that are all dedicated to this one band and has like an aesthetic and an attitude, and they don't understand it. And so you, as awesome Kiryu dude, because you're the most awesomest, is you're going to tell them how to be awesome so that they can be also. And you have to play their strengths and weaknesses and figure out how to get them through a panel without losing their audience.
Holy shit, that's awesome!
It's so funny. And it's so well written, like almost shockingly well written, even though it's translated. Like the translations,
I need to play this game.
Double well
This sounds
written.
amazing.
And if you get into it, you have like 7 games to play because they're coming out with Yakuza 6 this year.
Nice.
Are they on
awesome.
like PS3 and?
They range from PS2 to 3.
Ooh.
So
is there like a collection or?
That's the rough thing. Is PlayStation? I think Yakuza 2 and 3 are. I think 1, 2, and 3 are only on PS2. But 1 is being remade. So 0 came out this year. 1 is coming out this year as a remake. And I think 2 you're still stuck on. And I don't know where 3 is, but 4 and 5 and Dead Souls, which is the zombie spin-off, are all on PS3. And then on PS4 they're coming out with they already have 0, they're coming out with the remake of 1, and then later they're going to have Yakuza 6. And frustratingly, there's a Sengoku era Japan Yakuza game that is the exact same characters but as historical figures going around as samurai with the same ridiculous tone. And it's only Japan. It's only in Japan. I'm like no, and it's not translated to English in any format. So it's like no, but I want it.
How come nobody's ever made a game where you play as like an over the top like George Washington or something like that?
Well,
there should totally be
there's
like
an Assassin's Creed 3 expansion
where
where
he's like
okay,
crazy.
kind of.
Becomes an evil tyrant.
No, it'd be amazing to play. Like there aren't like hardly any games at all based in the Revolutionary War period that aren't like.
It's
probably
it's hard to
military
systemize some of the
sims.
mechanics without supplanting something over it, basically, or making an RTS.
Well, also, if they want to include prominent figures in history, they have to dance around the fact that there are set dates and circumstances behind events in their life, and
That's true.
around it.
But
Or you can just
people
dive
also
into
show
that shit and just don't actually make sense.
I was gonna say people
Yeah.
also expect like T-Rexes and Stegosauruses to be next to each other.
Yeah,
So
or next to people.
We could just have it be like Abraham Lincoln high-fiving like a baby like a Thomas Jefferson or something like that.
Remember that
It
one
would be
time that
interesting.
Abraham Lincoln hugged Martin Luther King? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
You could just make a fighting game of like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Mozart, just like all of history's greatest like figures.
Yeah, memorable figures. Not even like good at what they do figures, just people that are remembered, like Taft as this like enormous corpulent man, even though Taft was like nowhere
Apparently,
even
I
close to
learned
that.
that Taft was actually considered incredibly charismatic.
Really?
Which I did not know that.
He was a president. That's often a sign of charisma.
Okay. Damn good point.
So our college had a little library of documents from each president, like they're in their handwriting, whether it was a signature or a letter and such. And I believe I was reading the one for Taft, and his was interesting because it was just a correspondence with one of his friends. And by the end of his letter, they were arranging a date to have tea or something. And he's going, "Oh yeah, and I do apologize for the poor quality of my handwriting. I stubbed my thumb the other day and can't quite hold my pencil." And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is fine enough cursive. I mean, for goodness sake, you don't need to be self-conscious about your handwriting. What would his handwriting look like otherwise?
Yeah, President Taft, you don't need to feel bad about yourself. You just need
You'll
to come
never
out
be
of
famous
yourself,
for
President
anything
Taft.
moderately embarrassing or anything. People won't
I think that
continually
Taft-
only...
Taft is only half as well known as he is because his last name rhymes with the word draft or something.
I think it's just an easy one to
Well,
recognize.
Taft is memorable because he fucked up a lot of shit right before, he was like Great Depression era. So
Now,
like
didn't
he
Zachary
messed up a
Taylor
lot of
just-
shit.
He was not Great
Die.
Depression. Taft was way before Harding and all those people.
No. He was like
And
prior to
Hoover.
Great Depression. Like that was part of it. Oh, you know what? No, you're right.
Taft
I'm
was
thinking
the
of Hoover.
president for 1905 or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. I
was
was
way
thinking of
before.
Hoover. I get Taft and Hoover confused because they're both known as fat
Oh yeah.
presidents.
No, Hoover was
so-
horrendous. Hoover was a horrible president.
Yeah,
but Taft is known as the fat president.
That's true.
Well,
Whereas,
that's because of the tub.
That's
but I think both Taft and Hoover were quite overweight, and so because I don't really see the portraits that often. Mostly, I just see is the caricatures
Well,
of
then there
what
was
they look like.
Garfield, who he had non-consecutive turns. terms.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the cat for a second.
No.
Shell's making another leap of logic to talk about things.
The president who hates Mondays. I'm really confused about the trajectory of this conversation. How did we get here?
Shell wants to talk about Garfield. Let's still talk about Garfield.
No. I'm putting the kibosh on presidents for a while.
I lost the thread.
Yeah, how about we go to question and then maybe consider wrapping this up?
Question: What game did you play after hearing it was bad, but you ended up liking a lot?
Oh, I think I have an answer for this one. Let me see. I need to scroll through my Steam library to remind myself of what it is.
While he's reminding him of that, I want to just read this question aloud. When, where will I see this question on YouTube? If the answer is not on Wanderbot's channel, please notify Wanderbot's audience, please.
Okay, are you going to do that thing that I suggested?
Is that the question?
I'm just going to move. No, we're just not going to answer it.
Oh, okay.
Because how do you... I don't even know what the answer... You're watching it right now. And if you're not, then you don't... And then if you're not watching this, you still don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, Keith.
The answer is yes.
I honestly, I don't have an answer for... No, I'm still thinking about the previous one. I don't think I have a good answer for that.
For a game you thought was going to be bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games that pleasantly surprised me. Yeah, well, I mean, Conan was only good because you and I made it funny.
This is true.
I think I know mine.
One of the issues here is that it's hard to find a game that's known for being bad that turns out to be good because we have the opposite.
They're usually
problem
known for
with
being bad for a good reason.
I mean, video games have the opposite problem with criticism, which is that usually everything gets more praise than it should, and everything gets off easy critically. So it's hard. Yeah. It's rare to hear things are bad in the first place unless it's really bad.
Yeah,
like Resident Evil had to really fuck up before someone finally called one of their games bad.
Like, I guess my easy one is I actually really like No Man's Sky still. Like, it frustrates me because they totally fucked it up, but like, I really do like that game just for the like relaxing exploration element of it. But I totally understand that it's terrible. Shell had one?
Well, I'm thinking back at least to Nintendo 64 era games. And I would have to say that, some of the odd fighters, like the Xena Warrior Princess fighter and such, and how they weren't the best games, and graphically they were pretty poor, but there were just some funny things you could do in them, and the way that the characters would jeer at one another. I mean, I hadn't seen too many episodes of the series, but I really got the essence of many of the characters from it, and it was interesting, some of the combos you could do. I'm forgetting which one was... Oh, you could actually play the boss character if you unlocked him.
Yeah, your brother showed me that game. It looked terrible.
Yeah. I mean, there were instances where you can stunlock people, and that was pretty
They just didn't look good.
Right, but it was enjoyable. I liked going through the campaign mode because depending upon which character you played, their conversations with their opponents would change. So they had their own personal goal and their own personal story that was told with each battle, which I suppose is sort of formulaic when it comes to fighters because that's all you can really do.
What game was this? I was jamming a slinky in my eye.
The Nintendo 64 Xena Warrior Princess. It was just a fighter game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shell likes old bad games from her childhood. Any other old bad games that weren't from her childhood, she hates.
Well, it's the same with movies, though. I find that there are many more movies.
She's super intolerant to old bad things that other people liked that she didn't like as a kid. And you go back and watch them, and she's like, "This sucks," and it's just like, "All right."
Wait.
And then she's like, "Come love the thing that I love." And I'm like, "I don't want it anymore."
Oh. Shell's like, the only valid nostalgia is my nostalgia.
Shell is a hater.
Hey.
Oh, that is a strong accusation to level at somebody.
Well, my beef with Wander is that when I try to show him my favorite 50 sci-fi films,
they're awful.
He gets bored of them.
They are bad.
They were considered classics.
I don't care.
Sorry, classics.
I don't care about your classics.
They're on the lists of movies that you have to see before you die.
I don't care about those lists. They're always wrong.
Plastic, denoting rocks composed of broken pieces of older rocks.
Can you
just
not
like 50
do that
sci-fi.
again?
That's how
You knew,
that's how
you
old
knew that
sci-fi
word
is.
ahead of
It's
time,
all
right?
pieces of old sci-fi.
Yo.
There was an era of
Okay.
sci-fi movies where it was always made of pieces of other sci-fi movies, basically.
The
Like they
only
would just
50
recycle concepts
sci-fi
constantly.
I've ever seen was Mystery Science Theater 3000, 50 sci-fi.
Yeah. That's the
good
only
stuff.
way I'll watch old things generally.
And
Oh,
they
yeah.
make fun of them.
Yes, that's the point.
It's not good.
Because it's all funny. There's an entire era where movies look like that scene where Kirk fights a dinosaur really slowly.
And then
mean
fires a
arena.
rock at it with a bad bazooka.
Professor, can you study the sample from the lab? Well, my instruments tell me that this sample came from Mars. Dun, dun, dun.
Commercial break.
Zooms in on the guy's face, just like...
Intense.
See, I like the that slow zoom in amuses me.
Cinematography's fun though.
It is.
What weird parody? I was watching a weird parody movie of like one of those a while back, and they had it where the zoom in kept going and going, so it, like zoomed in, and they were using like a really good camera,
Well,
so
they
you
could
could
do
like
high-def
you could see
pores.
his pores.
Yeah.
It was gross, but that was the point.
I think they do a dramatic zoom in Spaceballs where they hit the person with the camera.
Yes, that was also
yeah.
great.
I love that. Well,
I think they hit Darth Helmet with
it was dark. It was Dark Helmet.
Oh.
That movie was a masterpiece.
Oh, I love that movie.
I didn't
Hey, you
laugh
did the
once.
Keith thing where you called a movie a game.
I didn't
Yeah,
laugh a single
I
time
do
when I
that all
watched
the time.
Spaceballs.
Well, that's because you're
I've never
dead
seen it.
inside.
I like comedies.
No, I've never seen it, Shell.
For some reason,
Never
it had no
seen
impact on me.
Spaceballs?
Nope, never seen Spaceballs.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I mean, realistically, rewatching it now that I'm older, I'm like, this is actually just dumb.
Maybe Spaceballs is an example of that earlier question of an overhyped thing, and then I see it, and then I'm like, yeah. Like, Spaceballs
part
and
of it is
Princess
like-
Bride.
Scarface
I
last
finally
weekend.
see it, and I'm like, huh, it's fine.
I think part of it is like Rick Moranis made that movie like 1,000 times better. Rick Moranis and the guy that was Yodar or whatever his name was, because
that's
he
Mel
was
Brooks.
the Mel Brooks, he was the Jewish guy in Princess Bride too, right?
He's the director.
Was it? I don't know. Whatever. I'm
I
trying
had
to
a thing where
remember.
I watched Princess Bride, and I felt like I was just waiting for quotes to come up.
Yeah.
It's such an overquoted movie. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't wait for
You
when it
already
says
know the dialogue.
inconceivable.
Or
Or,
Men
oh,
in
prepare to
Tights.
die. You killed my father.
Okay.
Yeah.
And something of unregular size. I don't believe in a thing or whatever. Like that. There's so many. There's too many. There's too many overquoted lines.
We got any other quick questions?
Bird, have you seen The Goonies? If not, I'll disown you. No, I've never seen The Goonies. Bye.
On the,
I've seen
I
the
could
Goonies
not.
once.
I actually quit watching the Goonies midway through.
I was forced to
couldn't
watch
do
The
it.
Goonies twice by my 8th grade math teacher.
That's a
Oh,
movie
that's-
about a bunch of kids that never stop screaming, and I actually got a headache, and I left, and I couldn't watch the movie anymore because they're just screaming the entire film.
Hey, to be
And it's
fair,
not-
one of them's fat.
And I'm not.
that's-
it's not like
that's got some
Japanese
redeeming
voice
value.
acting where it's just like they're shouting their line. I mean, like there are countless scenes in that movie where it's just 6 kids in a room all screaming at the same time about
Yep.
different things simultaneously. I'm like, I can't watch
Plus
this movie.
maybe
couldn't
a
take
couple
it.
extra non-kids that are also screaming.
Yeah. But for me, on the bad game thing, like all I can really think about is like a case of like the internet over damming a thing because of controversy reasons, and then I'm like, yeah, but the game's fine. Which for me, that was DMC Devil May Cry. Like that is a good video game. Like if you look at it in certain ways, you might get mad at it or something, but like it's a solid video game to play through, and it has good gameplay. It might, I don't know if it's exactly what people wanted or what, and I know people got mad about a number of things, but it's a good product. They made a good product and it's fun. But that game was also critically received well, I believe. So it's like just whether it was just internet ruckus going on.
Yeah,
Other than that,
any
like,
other reviewer questions? Let's see if we can knock one more out.
I've got confusing stuff where I can't tell if I've asked questions before or not. Like I got a case of like, was it what 2 genres that don't seem to work together could work if used wisely, like FPS?
Well, didn't we talk about genre
strategy.
mixing before?
Yeah, I don't
think
remember
we
if
have we?
if I did this question or not.
I think we talked about what our ideal video game would be and what genres we would try to mush together.
DDR combined with an RPG.
No. No.
That's called the
have played that.
Metronomicon.
Metronomicon and Before
that
the
exists?
Echo.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Before the Echo and Metronomicon, and there's one other that came out at the same time
Weren't
as
some of the original
Metronomicon.
Dance Dance Revolution games also they had a campaign mode or something where you were trying to be this big star.
I mean, all you probably did was just
that's not what we're talking about.
Play like 10 songs.
Metronomicon and Sequence are the two you're talking about, and they're actually both fairly good games.
I don't know if I'll make up one, but I have an example of an overlooked game that's surprisingly fun. That's a weird mishmash, which is it's a Guitar Hero crossed it's Guitar Hero crossed with House of the Dead.
Ooh, so what, do you use an instrument to kill your foes?
It's a game called Rock of the Dead that you play with the Guitar Hero controllers, or Rock Band controllers. You can play 2-player co-op, like where you're
use for them.
Yeah, you can play 2-player co-op like in House of the Dead, where you have a shared screen. The two characters are voice acted by Neil Patrick Harris and Felicia Day, and the entire soundtrack is Rob Zombie. And you're fighting zombies and monsters and super monsters from like House of the Dead style monsters and things.
I was with it until you said Rob Zombie, and now I'm like,
you're fighting. You'll be fighting like House of the Dead style bosses while Dragula plays and things like that. And then like weird one-liners from Felicia Day and Neil Patrick Harris. It's called Rock of the Dead, and it's on the 360, and it's a weird product.
This is going to sound a little bit cliche, but FPS roguelikes are like super rare, and
those don't really exist.
They were really common for about 18 months.
No, there was one good one, and then there were several really bad ones, and that was it.
Are you talking about Tower Guns?
Yeah, Tower Guns is really good. They're coming out with a sequel, which I'm super stoked for, and it looks like way better in every way. But
Did you not like
beyond
Fancy
that,
Skulls?
Fancy Skulls was good, but it's stuck in early access hell. The developer stopped updating it, so
does the Lovecraftian game count? Eldritch?
Eldritch?
It's a first-person roguelike, at least.
It kind of counts. Eldritch was okay. I couldn't get into it as much, just because...
I got one.
Okay.
Racing game combined with a boxing game.
So you're riding a race car punching one another, but that sounds like fun.
No, you're either trying to race boxers or you're trying to box a car.
It sounds like an RSI game.
Wait, so
I was actually going to say it'd be pretty great if it was two games that are kind of disparate crammed together. So you're a boxer, but you're late for literally every league match because you scheduled them all the same day, and so you have to drive to like Grand Theft Auto driving style from match to match.
God.
And like the more you fuck up your car, the worse you are for the
stuff.
No, I'm imagining that it's like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out crossed with Dead Rising, where you have like time management, and you're sprinting from place to place and trying to get all these like escort quests done, basically, but they're boxing matches.
Like, take your daughter to school and then go to the bank to drop off your $150 check.
And so, like, if you do your errands badly, your boxing match is like shitty because you suck.
Late.
You're tired.
You're all like stressed out.
Yeah, you're not wearing the right clothes, so you can't like react as fast because you're still wearing like your just day clothes and shit like that.
This is the saddest, weirdest game.
I'd play it.
It's like Poverty Sim combined with like every night ends with you getting like punched in the face. It's horrible.
That's kind of what Punch Club was like to some degree, because it was like this weird like sim game
simulator
crossed with boxing, except for really just ended up being a simulator of watching all of your hard work go to shit in a matter of minutes because the goddamn stat dropping mechanic was awful.
Papers, please.
I'm
crossed
sad
with
now.
Pokemon.
I need to come up with a happy game.
Okay. One last short question.
What's not happy about Papers, Please, Pokemon?
No.
Oh, God.
Not Papers,
You monster.
Please, Pokemon. God damn.
Mother Russia bleeds Katamari.
Yeah.
All right, another question?
Oh, my genre. I didn't get to say my genre mix.
Go for it.
I really want to play a multiplayer puzzle game.
A multiplayer puzzle
That
game?
will never happen.
There's Portal 2.
Yeah, there's Portal 2. There's that one game about little like stuffed animal people that walk around on extra dimensional space. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, the one on the PS3 or whatever. I remember.
Yeah,
that.
you were little stuffed animal people, and you'd walk around, and you could like go over like different gravity directions, and you would start on opposite sides of a course, and you would like help each other.
Yeah,
the
entire point was to meet each other and like kiss.
Yeah,
it was super cute. Duncan played that when we were in college.
There's also the puzzle game I played with Andrew, where you can platform on top of each other, basically.
Yeah.
So you help one another up.
Another one just came out called like Switch or whatever. I don't remember the name of it, but like there are a number of them. But like you're thinking Myst-like, and there's never going to be like a co-op Myst-like.
No. Well, I mean, Myst actually tried it with Myst Online.
Even for first-person adventure games,
really
you have
badly.
Last Will.
Yeah, that was. We should actually load that up at some point and see if it's functional.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Although I think that experience was compromised in large part by the setup we were playing it in too. Though. Yeah.
I'd get another copy of it.
There was an entire period where I was like, "Hey guys, I figured out this puzzle. I just want to tell you how it's working because I know I just want to tell you what this thing is real quick." And you guys were arguing about something in the corner for 10 minutes and weren't listening to me, and I couldn't break through.
That was
and then
abduction.
5 minutes later, you guys tried to solve that puzzle. I'm like, no.
That was abduction era of we hadn't been near each other, like proximity wise, so we'd forgotten how to work together. And Shell's a terrible backseat gamer, and I'm terrible at listening to her when she's backseat gaming because I just get angry instead of listening to her.
How about
there definitely are co-op
puzzle
games? Did you say co-op?
So there's like this really hard puzzle, but you're also added onto that a complete inability to control the character attempting to solve the puzzle.
Do you know what I'm imagining?
So like Octodad, but hard.
Yeah.
Keith, somebody's suggesting Blind Trust to us as a response.
Yeah, Blind Trust is technically a co-op puzzle game, but it's also 10 minutes long.
Quadrilateral Cowboy, but also like Octodad.
But you're blind.
I had a friend actually attempt to make a game where you had to solve a maze while being blind. It didn't work at all because he's a terrible programmer. So like what ended up happening was you had all the sound emitters. He programmed them somehow to just constantly spin through the map and go through walls. So it was the most confusing fucking experience you could ever imagine. Because you had to like follow these sound cues, and they would like go through impenetrable doors and stuff. And I was just like, "What? Why? What is happening?" I'm scared and sad.
Oh wait, Trine 1 and 2 are technically co-op puzzle games. If you don't turn on the cheat where you can change characters.
Yeah. 3 is 2 if you don't play with Andrew.
It's like Lost Vikings, basically. No, 3's too broken though, because the knight can just break the game.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's just part of the game.
I suppose what I really, really want is what BioWare is supposedly making, which is a
multiplayer
BioWare experience.
Yeah. Okay, last question, short one.
Stalling. By the way, on the topic of Yakuza, I was just thinking, like, instead of everyone contributing to this really, really shady Kickstarter for Shenmue 3, where Sony's publishing the game, but they're like, give us money instead of us doing our job, they should have just been buying Yakuza games, because it's the same.
Yeah.
It's all the good things about Shenmue. Like, all of them. Let's see.
Question.
Have any of you guys LARPed?
Question.
Have any of us LARPed?
What?
LARPed.
10th birthday, does that count?
Yeah, kind of once.
Would you consider like make-believe play LARPing? Or you need to have like the D&D stats and stuff and
you gotta pretend you're a mighty warrior from a clan.
I've definitely never LARPed. The closest thing to LARPing I've ever done is laser tag.
I've never...
Wow,
you made laser tag less cool now.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't.
But I've had
it's already too bad.
You can, and you did.
I mean, that's just proximity. Yeah. I mean, in a weird sort of way, an escape room is weirdly like a form of LARPing, because it's like a weird, like, social role-playing experience.
I mean, I've cosplayed at conventions, and occasionally I have to actually be in character for, I mean, there was the chess matches that we had and such, but sometimes a person will come up to you and their character from a series interacts with your character, and they start doing something, and they're like, hey, ooh. And you go, oh, yeah, so you want me to do this because I'm portraying this character. Ha-ha.
I guess we have to have a battle to the death now.
Yeah.
Sigh.
Pretty much. Thank goodness no Kakashi's tried ripping my heart out when I was Haku, because that would have been weird.
Any day now.
I mean, they'd just be going for a boob grab. Let's be honest here.
It'd be bad.
Yeah.
You never know. That special man might still be out there.
Damn.
I mean, I could go for the boob grab right now, but I don't think that'd be exactly
the heart
kosher
rib.
for the podcast. Well, I mean, I could go for the heart rib too, but it really just
mean
would
like a
be
literal
boob grab.
Kakashi.
There's no way I'm going to be able to get my hand through a rib cage without breaking my hand first.
And on that note, we should play Grim Dawn. Boob grab. That's the title of this episode.
You sure it's not clastic?
Classic's a pretty great word.
Classic's a classic.